Welcome to Type C Tech Reviews. Today we're going to be doing a review of the Samsung Odyssey Neo G9. More specifically, less of a review and more of a watch this before you buy because, well, we had some problems. However, if you do want to check out the Neo G9, there are Amazon links below for the US, UK, Canada, and international links. But firstly, to preface this, I personally bought this monitor brand new to first review and then to use daily. However, it's been a long time since my initial unboxing and initial impressions video, and unfortunately, I ended up returning this monitor outside of its technical return period due to warranty problems. And to just get this out of the way, I overall do not recommend the Neo G9. I do not recommend you guys buy this monitor, and let's talk about why, because it's not just warranty things. Firstly, the warranty issue was this monitor would randomly go black screen. I thought maybe this was because I wasn't using their cable, since this has like that OS smart TV like system built in, so I switched to their cable. No luck. Not just that, but along with trying pretty much everything else possible, we switched to different PCs, different versions of Windows, different GPUs. I literally tried everything, and the problem was with the monitor. I isolated it so much so that it was clear that the problem was with the monitor. Secondly, this black screen was not from overheating. This would happen sometimes literally like 30 seconds after I start the monitor, so it was not from overheating. However, overheating is another problem, and let's talk about that. When I was able to kind of power through the black screens and having to kind of restart the monitor, then this also had a problem where it would overheat. So during longer gaming sessions, like an hour and a half to 2 hours, I'd be mid-game, the back of the monitor would be really, really hot. And the back of the monitor is metal in some parts, so it gets quite hot. You feel it back there, super hot. The panel will then go black screen, completely shut off, and it would take quite a bit for that panel to come back on when I would immediately try to power it back on because I'm in game with my friends playing games. And then it would maybe stay on for 2 minutes and then again, shut down the monitor. So it not only had black screen problems randomly, and I literally mean randomly, there was like no correlation, no connection with anything. It made no sense. But then on top of that, there was overheating problems, which in my opinion is completely unacceptable for a gaming monitor. That's what you're gonna be doing, longer gaming sessions. And again, we're not talking about like 6 hours plus. We're literally talking about an hour and a half, 2 hours. While that is a longer gaming session, it still is like pretty much everyone's gonna do that with this monitor, I would think. Then the next point here, and an overall buyer's guide to any of the QD OLEDs, is the OS. On pretty much all of these Samsung OLEDs, they're running this smart TV-like system. And initially when I first used this on their IPS panels a few years ago, I thought it was actually a pretty cool system. I didn't see the need for it, but it does give you more value, I guess. But after using it for a significantly longer amount of time, I cannot stand the OS, and it is so problematic. Let's talk about it. So the OS actually controls the inputs. The negative here is that if your OS doesn't recognize a signal coming through, after just a few seconds, the monitor will enter a screen in the OS itself saying that it's going to turn the screen off in a minute unless a device is recognized. Not too big of an issue, right? This is pretty common with like TVs. It actually works exactly the same as most TVs. The problem here is this caused changing resolutions in games that were full screen literally impossible. I could not do it once. The game obviously needs to be receiving the monitor's resolution, its data, through the display cable, so that you can then be able to change your resolution and refresh rate, like everyone does on their PC. But when you change that, your PC takes a second to refresh, and for a split second, it ends that feed going between the display cables for a split second. Well, this monitor would immediately freak out and go into the OS, which again would then basically cut off the input that your PC was on, and it would come back on in 30 seconds, but by that point, your PC no longer recognizes that there is a monitor connected, and so you're unable to actually make a resolution change because your PC essentially thinks that you're plugging in a new monitor. So that was so frustrating, and there is no way to turn off that going back to the OS and saying it's gonna time out after a minute. There's no way to turn that off inside of the menu system. All of those inputs go through the OS, which is just ridiculous. All they would have to do is use a standard OS for the inputs, which means if you wanted to use the OS, go ahead and use it. If you wanted to use this as just a normal monitor with the normal inputs, you could just do that. That would literally solve the problem, but Yeah, okay. Not only this, but the OS actually caused a significant amount of graphical bugs, such as like crazy lines and flickering screens and offset resolutions. We saw this in the unboxing here when I initially turned it on. And when you go through the menu and change a few things, I'm not even sure what I changed to make this stop. You just kind of randomly change things and it stops. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but that is literally the case here. This OS is so bugged out, but it's pretty much unacceptable at this price point. Now, I do want to say, I love Samsung's QD OLEDs, especially their new Gen 3 QD OLEDs. I love them. I have an Alienware AW3225QF back there, which is a Gen 3 QD OLED. It's amazing. It's my favorite monitor I've ever used, and I loved this monitor for what it should have been. But unfortunately, it has so many glitches and bugs that I literally cannot recommend it to anyone. So this is the big part of the video. I still recommend the QD OLEDs that Samsung develops. Their panels are awesome. The technology is amazing. But I recommend that you do not buy a Samsung manufactured monitor in its complete build. Get a QD OLED, the Samsung technology, but get it from a brand like Corsair, or mainly Alienware is the one that's going to use them mostly. And I think MSI might have a monitor, and there's probably a few others that are going to start using their QD OLEDs, but buy it from one of those brands. It's so much better implemented, and you really want to stay away from that OS. It is not polished, and the quality control also of Samsung, I will say, is just not as good as other brands. Corsair seems to be pretty decent also, and they're pretty new to the game. Now let's move to the next point that I also don't recommend you get this monitor. And this isn't about the monitor specifically, but it's actually about the customer service. The process to get this figured out, either fixed or returned, which eventually going through this, they gave me the option to just return it, even though it was well out of the return period, which is nice. So I decided to just go ahead with that because I didn't think that them sending me, I didn't think it was going to be able to be fixed. You're having overheating problems. How are we going to fix that unless you're actually going in, changing the engineering? So at that point, I was like, I just want to get this out. I bought it with my own money, and it's an expensive monitor, but the process I had to go through here was crazy. It was disjointed and unbelievably long. Samsung's customer support is the single worst I have ever encountered, and I buy a ton of tech products, so more often than not, I'm going to be interacting with these companies when there are problems or manufacturing defects with these products. So I do think I have a better understanding of overall customer support than maybe your average person. And this was atrociously bad. I went through multiple chats, 10 plus calls, phone calls, with many of them being well over 30 minutes long. So we're talking about an enormous amount of time just to get this thing figured out. We got texts from all different departments inside of Samsung, which was incredibly confusing. We then got sent a return label, but then they ended up somehow, I guess, messing that up, and they said, don't use the return label. I'm still not sure what happened there. Then after waiting literally weeks, they ended up sending 2 guys to the house that were like Samsung people, and very nice people that came to the house. They were super nice, so no hate to them at all. So I told them about the issues that I had, and they actually told me they had picked up a bunch of other monitors, the same monitor, the Neo G9, and it had a lot of the same issues, the overheating, the problems with displays randomly blacking out. That is pretty telling that they're being picked up and returned a lot. I think this was kind of like no one really talked about it because most of the Samsung reviews out there of bigger creators, I won't get into this too much, but Samsung a lot of times only sponsors these bigger creators. Most of these Samsung reviews that you see from bigger creators are all paid for. And you know this channel does not accept money for any of our reviews at all. I don't think we have never done a brand deal on this channel or accepted money from anyone except affiliate links. That's how we make money on this channel, to make sure it is 100% honest. So yeah, all right, I do want to make very clear, I freaking loved the monitor when it worked. For those periods of time, it was amazing. I loved the aspect ratio. 32:9 is awesome. The OLED technology is great. Really, I didn't have any problems with the monitor itself if it just worked. And if you guys are looking at getting a QD OLED, I 100% recommend them. They are awesome monitors, but go with brands like Alienware, Corsair is now doing some of their monitors with the QD OLED technology. Get these panels from a different brand. That's my overall recommendation. And with that being said, I'm actually going to be releasing my Alienware AW3225QF, which is that monitor back there. It's 32 inches. Again, a Gen 3 QD OLED panel. Same basic technology in the Neo G9, but that one is 4K, 32 inches, 240 hertz, an absolute beast. But I'll be releasing my 6-month update, my long-term tester on that panel, so subscribe below if you do want to see that. Again, I will put Amazon links for the Neo G9 below, even though I don't recommend it. That's what I do on every video. Still, come to your own conclusions. It's your money, it's your choice. These are just my opinions and my findings. But yeah, this is Type-C Tech Reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next video.